Alex Turner sat hunched over his desk, the cold glow of his computer screen the only light in his dimly lit office. It had been a long day, but as his tired eyes skimmed over the latest batch of emails, something caught his attention. An innocuous-looking thread stood out, a message with his name. At first he dismissed it, thinking it was a routine request from one of the senior executives. But as he clicked it open, his heart skipped a beat. The email chain was discussing fraudulent activities within the company. Worse, it looked as though someone was framing him for being involved. Alex's eyes widened as his stomach churned. He read the message over again, hoping he had misread it, but the more he looked, the clearer it became. This was no mistake. This was real. The terror sank in as he realized the company he had worked for, trusted, was about to destroy him. He quickly closed the email, but the damage was done. His hands shook as he stared at the screen, the weight of the discovery suffocating him. What was he supposed to do now? Alex sat back in his chair, his fingers hovering over his phone. His heart raced as the realization sank in. What do I do now? He thought, his mind spinning with the implications of what he had just discovered. The quiet office around him only added to the suffocating tension. His fingers nervously dialed the number for his lawyer, Sarah Matthews. The phone rang, each tone sounding louder than the last. When she picked up, her voice was calm, even measured. "We need to talk urgently," she said. "Meet me in the morning." Alex's stomach tightened. Was she already aware of what was going on? His mind raced with questions, but one thought echoed louder than the rest. "They're coming for me." He had to find a way out of this. He had to act fast, but the fear of getting caught gnawed at him. Following morning, Alex met Sarah at a small coffee shop near his apartment. He hadn't slept a wink. His mind was still racing with the email he had uncovered. Sarah, who had always been his trusted lawyer, greeted him with a calm smile. But today, something was different. "I found something," Alex said, his voice trembling slightly as he pulled out his phone and showed her the email thread. Sarah's face remained neutral as she took a moment to read the messages. The silence between them stretched on for what felt like an eternity. Finally, Sarah looked up, her eyes cool but calculating. "This is serious, Alex," she said quietly. "We need to be careful. They're watching." Alex felt a knot form in his stomach. He wasn't just fighting the company now, he was also starting to question the people he thought he could trust. Alex's stomach churned with every word that left Sarah's lips. "We need to slow down," she insisted. "The company is already suspicious. If we make any sudden moves, they'll retaliate." Alex's mind raced. "But I can't just sit here and do nothing," he replied, his voice tight. "They're framing me for something I didn't do." Sarah's face softened, but her eyes remained guarded. "I know," she said gently, "but rushing into this could make things worse. We need to be strategic." Alex wanted to scream. This wasn't about strategy. This was about clearing his name before it was too late. But instead he nodded, swallowing his fear. It wasn't just the company he was up against. He was starting to realize that even those who claimed to help him might have their own agenda. Later that day, Alex returned to the office, but the air felt different. The usual buzz of conversations and keyboard clicks was gone. The office seemed to hum with a quiet tension. As Alex walked past his coworkers, he noticed their eyes dart away from him. Greg, a senior analyst who had once been friendly, now avoided eye contact. Alex couldn't shake the feeling that everyone was talking about him, even when he wasn't around. "This can't be happening," he muttered under his breath. He had always believed in loyalty, in the integrity of his colleagues. But now, it seemed like the company he had worked for, the company he had trusted, was turning its back on him. The weight of isolation settled heavily on his shoulders. Alex sat at the dinner table, the flicker of the TV in the background, but his attention was elsewhere. Julia, his wife, noticed the worry etched on his face. "What's going on, Alex? You're not yourself tonight." He hadn't been able to sleep for days, his thoughts consumed by the email and the realization that the company had turned against him. He was beginning to feel the weight of it all, but he couldn't share the full truth with her. "It's work, just a little stress," he muttered, forcing a smile. Julia frowned, sensing something deeper. "You've been saying that for days. What's really going on?" Alex looked at their 5-year-old daughter, playing with her food. He wanted to protect her, protect them all, but he was trapped. The truth was too dangerous. He was torn, but the fear of losing everything kept him silent. Julia stared at him, concern in her eyes. Julia gently reached out, her hand covering Alex. "You can tell me, you know," she said, her voice soft but insistent. "I'm not going to let anything happen to you, to us." Alex squeezed her hand, his gaze falling to the table. "I wish I could just leave it all behind," he confessed, the weight of his burden more than he could carry alone. "But if I stay silent, they'll just keep going." Julia's expression shifted from concern to worry. "You're not just risking your job, Alex," she said, her voice tight. "You're risking everything. I don't want to lose you." Alex's heart broke at her words, but the guilt was suffocating. "I don't know what else to do, Julia," he whispered. She squeezed his hand tighter, her eyes pleading with him. "Please, think about us. Think about your family." Alex tried to focus, but the weight of the situation gnawed at him. He was no longer able to ignore the truth. Every hour spent at the office, every moment in the hallway, felt like a trap tightening around him. Colleagues who used to greet him now avoided his gaze. Greg, his coworker, looked away quickly when Alex passed by, a subtle but sharp indication that something was wrong. The paranoia crept in. Was the company watching him? Was Sarah, his lawyer, already working against him? That night, alone in his office, Alex combed through the emails again, finding new messages that hinted at something much larger than he had first imagined. The scam went all the way to the top, but who could he trust? The following day, Alex tried to maintain some sense of normalcy, but it wasn't long before he noticed the difference. At every turn, there was an undercurrent of suspicion. Conversations halted when he entered rooms. Co-workers gave him nervous glances. Greg, who used to be his friend, had now become distant. Alex couldn't shake the feeling that his every move was being watched. As he walked through the office, the walls seemed to close in around him. He overheard a hushed conversation between two senior managers. We can't afford to let Turner dig any deeper," one said. Alex froze in place, heart pounding in his chest. He realized that he was no longer just an employee. He was a target. Alex could feel the pressure building every day. Julia, increasingly concerned, kept urging him to stop digging. "You can't keep doing this, Alex," she said one night. "This is bigger than you, and it's hurting all of us." Her words echoed in his mind, but Alex couldn't back down. His conscience wouldn't allow it. Every time he uncovered a new piece of evidence, the danger grew, but so did his resolve. As the days passed, Alex's hope started to fade. Would anyone believe him? Or would he be branded a liar and a whistleblower? The quiet of his home was shattered by a sudden realization. This wasn't just about saving his career anymore. This was about saving everything he stood for. A week had passed, and the pressure was building. Alex could feel the walls closing in around him. His every move at work was being scrutinized. In the break room, he overheard two executives whispering. "We can't let Turner find out more," one of them said. Alex froze in his tracks, heart pounding. It was clear now. They knew he was onto something. His suspicions were confirmed, but the realization only made him more determined to expose the truth. He had to find a way to stay one step ahead of them. But as the days dragged on, it became harder to ignore the mounting pressure. Even his closest friends were starting to distance themselves, perhaps out of fear. He had no allies at work, and the walls felt more like a trap every day. His only choice now was to dig deeper. Alex didn't know who to trust anymore. At home, the stress was beginning to bleed into his personal life. Julia noticed how distracted he was. "What's going on, Alex? You've been distant for days now," she asked, her voice full of concern. Alex sighed, feeling the weight of it all. He wanted to tell her the truth, But how could he explain what he was up against without dragging her into the nightmare? "It's nothing, Julia," he replied, trying to hide his fear behind a forced smile. But Julia wasn't convinced. "You've been acting strange. We're a team, remember? You don't have to carry this alone." Alex looked at her, his heart aching. He wanted to share everything, but he feared it would only make things worse. He was walking a tightrope, and every step felt like a risk. The next day, Alex returned to work, but everything felt different. His badge was suddenly deactivated, and he couldn't access his office. He stood at the turnstile, confusion and panic rising in his chest. The quiet beep of his card not working felt like a warning bell. Was this the company's way of telling him they knew? His thoughts raced, but the reality of being locked out hit him like a punch to the gut. He couldn't go back to his desk, couldn't get to the files that might prove his case. Everything he had worked for was crumbling, piece by piece. He stood there for a moment, paralyzed, before walking away. He had no idea what to do next, but he knew one thing for sure. They were going to make sure he couldn't expose them. Alex's mind was racing. He had to confront Sarah, but something felt off about her recent behavior. His trust in her was beginning to wane. When she called him the following morning, her tone was different. "We need to slow down," she urged. "The company is watching us. If you go public now, it will only make things worse." Alex, frustration building inside him, snapped, "This is my life on the line, Sarah. I can't just sit here and do nothing while they destroy me." She paused, her voice turning colder. "I'm trying to protect you, Alex. You don't understand the risk." But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that Sarah wasn't on his side anymore. What if she was playing him just like everyone else? Alex spent the rest of the day replaying the conversation with Sarah. He couldn't trust anyone anymore. His heart ached as he thought about Julia and their daughter, but he couldn't back down. He had to do something, and fast. That night, he decided to take matters into his own hands. He started pulling files, digging into every shred of evidence he could find. But the deeper he dug, the more he realized the corruption ran deeper than he ever imagined. The company had been laundering money for years, and he was right in the middle of it. The discovery sent a chill down his spine. He was no longer just a witness. He was a key player in exposing one of the largest corporate frauds in the country. It had been weeks since Alex discovered the depth of the corruption within the company. His life, once filled with routine, had become a whirlwind of paranoia and isolation. As the pressure mounted, Alex felt the walls closing in. He couldn't trust anyone anymore, not even Sarah, his lawyer. One evening, he received a call from an unknown number. He hesitated but answered. "Alex, you're running out of time," a voice said, calm but filled with menace. "The deeper you dig, the harder it will be for you to walk away. You think you can expose us, but you're just a pawn." The line went dead. Alex stared at his phone, his heart pounding in his chest. The weight of the situation hit him harder than ever before. There was no turning back now. The next morning, Alex met with Sarah again. This time, there was no warm greeting, no calm demeanor. Sarah's eyes were darkened with concern as she spoke. "They know you're onto them," she said, her voice strained. "It's only a matter of time before they move against you." Alex clenched his fists, trying to mask the rising panic. "What do we do now?" he asked, his voice shaky. Sarah hesitated, then leaned in closer. "We have to go public, but it has to be calculated. We need leverage, and we need to act fast. They're closing in on you." Alex's mind raced. Could he really go public with everything at stake? The cost was too high, but there seemed to be no other option. Later that afternoon, Alex's paranoia intensified. He couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching him, following his every move. As he stepped into the office, he noticed Greg, his former friend, watching him from across the room. Alex tried to approach, but Greg quickly turned away, avoiding eye contact. The chill in the air was palpable. Alex's heart sank. He could no longer ignore it. The company had turned against him, and so had everyone around him. His entire world had shifted, and the isolation was suffocating. He had to make a decision, and fast. Could he trust Sarah? Could he trust anyone? As the days dragged on, Alex's anxiety reached a boiling point. His mind raced with questions. Was Sarah truly on his side, or was she just playing a part in the company's game? He couldn't take any more uncertainty. Late one night, Alex found himself standing in front of the glass door to his office. He had been given another chance to dig deeper, but this time, it felt like a trap. The office was silent, save for the faint hum of the air conditioning. He pushed the door open slowly, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on him. If he walked back into that office, there was no turning back. But if he didn't, he would never get the truth. The next day, Alex made his decision. He couldn't sit idly by while everything crumbled. He called Sarah, his voice steady but filled with urgency. "I'm going public," he said, his words final. "I have to do this. I have the proof, and I'm not backing down." There was a long pause on the other end of the line before Sarah's voice crackled through. "Alex, you don't understand," she said, her tone tinged with fear. "You're playing right into their hands." But Alex had made up his mind. This was no longer just about his job or his reputation. It was about exposing the truth, no matter the cost. The company had gone too far, and now it was time to fight back. Alex sat in his living room, his laptop open in front of him. The air was thick with anticipation. He had gone public. The press was already covering the scandal, and his phone was flooded with messages, some supportive, others threatening. The company's lawyers had already issued a statement denying any wrongdoing. But Alex could see through the lies. The weight of the situation had settled heavily on his shoulders. His family was now involved, and he could feel the target on his back grow larger with every passing second. Julia sat beside him, her face a mask of concern. "You did the right thing, Alex," she said softly. But there was a tremor in her voice. "But this isn't over. We need to stay vigilant." Alex nodded, but he knew that he had just stepped into a new, dangerous chapter of his life. They were coming for him. But this time, he wasn't backing down. The phone rang again. Alex's heart sank when he saw the number on the screen. It was Sarah. He answered with a shaky breath, trying to steady his nerves. "We need to talk," Sarah said, her voice tense and urgent. "They're coming after you. I've been hearing things. I don't know how much longer I can protect you." Alex's grip tightened around the phone. "You were supposed to be on my side, Sarah," he snapped, his voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. "How could you let this happen?" Sarah paused, her voice growing cold. "I'm doing what I can, Alex, but you're on your own now." The line went dead. Alex stared at the phone, the weight of her words sinking in. He had trusted her, and now, even she was backing away. This fight was his alone. Alex paced the floor of his apartment, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. He was alone in this now, with no one to help him. The company was pushing back harder, sending threats and legal warnings. The more he uncovered, the more dangerous it became. His every move felt watched. The paranoia was consuming him. His friends had distanced themselves, his colleagues were silent, and even Sarah, the one person he thought he could rely on, had turned on him. That night, Alex sat alone, surrounded by the evidence he had gathered. The company was embroiled in illegal activities, laundering money, manipulating reports, and framing him for everything. The truth was undeniable. But as Alex read through the documents, he realized that going public had set off a chain reaction he couldn't undo. His life would never be the same again. The next day, Alex's phone buzzed with a new message. It was from an anonymous source. "You're not alone. We know what they're doing. We've been watching. There are others like you, and together we can bring them down." The message was a lifeline, but Alex was wary. Who could he trust now? Was this just another game being played at his expense? He stared at the message for a long time, his heart racing. Could he really work with someone else? Could he trust that this was genuine? After everything he had been through, it was hard to believe anything. But he had no other choice. He needed allies, and this could be the break he had been waiting for. With a new sense of resolve, Alex decided to meet with the anonymous group. The rendezvous was set for midnight, in an abandoned building on the outskirts of the city. He couldn't trust anyone, but at this point he had no other options. As he drove to the location, his mind raced with possibilities. Who were these people? What did they want? And most importantly, could they help him expose the corruption? As he arrived, the building was eerily silent. The only sound was the soft thud of his footsteps as he made his way inside. He wasn't sure what he would find, but one thing was certain: he couldn't keep running from the truth. The day had come. Alex was standing at the doorstep of his old office, a place once filled with camaraderie and ambition, now a distant memory. He had joined forces with the group of whistleblowers, each one sharing their story, but the danger had escalated. His identity was exposed, and the company had placed him in their crosshairs. As he walked toward the building, the weight of his choices pressed on him. If I'm going down, I'm bringing them with me, he thought, steeling himself. The truth was all he had left. Inside, the familiar hum of office lights flickered above him. Alex stepped through the door, past the same desks he used to sit at. Nothing was the same. The air was thick with the tension of knowing he was being watched. As he made his way to his old desk, his mind raced with the implications. The anonymous group had sent him proof, financial documents detailing the full scope of the fraud. But the company had already started their retaliation. They were no longer just interested in silencing him. They were looking to destroy him. As Alex reached his old desk, he found something unexpected: an envelope with his name on it. The handwriting was unfamiliar, but it was the company logo on the seal that made his heart race. Inside, a letter and a flash drive were tucked into the envelope. The letter was brief, threatening, and signed by an anonymous figure from within the company. "If you proceed, you'll lose everything and everyone," it warned. Alex knew this wasn't just a threat, it was a final warning. Alex walked out of the building, the envelope burning a hole in his pocket. He knew what he had to do, but the consequences felt more real now. The message had been clear: the company wasn't going down without a fight. He had made enemies, but it was too late to turn back. The flash drive held the evidence he needed to expose the full extent of the fraud. But would it be enough? The group of whistleblowers had given him their trust, but could he trust them? With his mind in turmoil, Alex made the decision. He had to act. Back in the safety of his apartment, Alex plugged the flash drive into his laptop. His hands trembled as the documents loaded, revealing the true scope of the company's corruption. Money laundering, insider trading, bribery, it was all there. The weight of the truth crushed him. He had the evidence, but the power to expose it came at a cost. As Alex stared at the screen, he realized there was no turning back now. He had crossed a line, and there was no escaping the consequences. The next morning, Alex sat in his apartment, still reeling from the discovery. He knew the company would try to cover their tracks, but the evidence was undeniable. He was no longer just a whistleblower. He had become the key to unraveling a massive conspiracy. He stared at the screen, his finger hovering over the send button. Once the documents went public, his life as he knew it would be over. But he couldn't live with the truth hidden any longer. He had to expose them, no matter the cost. Just as Alex was about to click send, his phone rang. It was an unfamiliar number. "Alex," the voice on the other end said, cold and calculating, "you're making a grave mistake. We know what you have, and we'll make sure you never see the light of day again if you go through with it." Alex's breath caught in his throat. His heart raced as he tried to steady himself. "Who is this?" he demanded. The voice chuckled, then hung up. Alex was no longer just fighting for the truth. He was fighting for his life. The threat had shaken him, but Alex knew what he had to do. He couldn't back down now. He gathered all the evidence, the financial records, the hidden emails, the anonymous tip-offs. Every piece of the puzzle. He was ready. As he stood in front of the window, looking out over the city, his thoughts raced. The company would fight back, but Alex had come too far to turn around. His mind was set. He would go public, with or without the protection he needed. The truth would find its way out. As Alex prepared to make the biggest decision of his life, the knock on the door came. He hesitated before opening it, his heart pounding in his chest. When he pulled the door open, Sarah stood there, her face grim. "You need to stop," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "They're coming for you, Alex. They've already made their move. It's too dangerous now." But Alex could see the fear in her eyes, the fear that was starting to match his own. "I'm not stopping," he said firmly. "They're not going to win." Sarah's warning echoed in Alex's mind as he sat back down at his desk, the weight of the situation pressing down on him. He knew Sarah cared for him, but this wasn't about her. It was about justice. He glanced at the clock. Time was running out. He couldn't delay any longer. With a deep breath, Alex hit send. His heart pounded in his chest as the email with the damning evidence flew into the hands of the press. The floodgates were open now. There was no turning back. He had done it.